Welcome everybody to the Dialogue Institute Austin's series on peace building. We've identified several historical figures and living persons who have really contributed to world peace. And of course, Nelson Mandela heads our list. So we're very happy today to come to you from Austin, Texas, where I am, and Durban, South Africa, where Dr. Raj is. Dr. Raj is my new friend on Zoom and an expert on Nelson Mandela's history in South Africa in building peace. So, Dr. Raj, would you like to say a little bit about your background and how you came to be familiar with Nelson Mandela's work?
Okay, I'm Dr. Rajendran Govender. I'm a social anthropologist, and during the course of my studies in diversity studies in South Africa, I've networked with different cultural communities and different role players, and I became more and more interested in the teachings of people that have made a huge difference in the community. A huge, and it is with that in mind that I've worked tirelessly in researching on figures like Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and more importantly, our own countryman, Nelson Mandela. So during the course of my stint as the Director of Arts and Culture in the government of South Africa, I've used Nelson Mandela's teachings in order to promote dialogue. Because as you know, South Africa is a very, very diverse country. There's so many different cultural, linguistic, and racial groupings. And it is very, very important for people to have one common element that can unite everybody. And I found that Nelson Mandela was that particular seed that was planted in the minds of everybody for us to work. That is why I became interested in the Department of Arts and Culture in January this year, appointed me as a social cohesion advocate. Now, the task of a social cohesion advocate is to find every opportunity in conceptualizing and implementing programs that are aimed towards nation building and social cohesion. So that is why I am very, very much of faith with the teachings of Nelson Mandela.
One of the things we wanted to do was to find someone in the country of South Africa who could speak to us about Nelson Mandela. And certainly you are one of the premier people that we wanted to talk to. So it's true that Nelson Mandela would have been 100 years old in 2018. And his ideas for peace have lasted over time and through great adversity. I'm sure that everyone attributes part of his belovedness to the fact that he was able to spend 27 years in prison and come out not revengeful, but seeking to build peace in South Africa. So could you say a little bit about that?
Yes. Now, David Grebe, a journalist during the apartheid era, writes of how, in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, Nelson Mandela's resolute commitment to reconciliation and forgiveness led South Africa to peaceful and negotiated constitutional settlement that prevented the country into slipping into a civil war. It was the manner of Nelson Mandela's stubborn and steely resolve to stick to his goal of a peaceful political settlement in South Africa that sets him apart from other leaders. Mandela's absolute determination to keep moving forward on a peaceful path in the face of intolerable provocations, rather than resort to revenge or violence. On a train in India in 2013, when I first heard of the passing away of Mandela in 2013, I just sat there in deep shock until the reality struck me. I then slowly began to compose a poem in memory of this great soul who had made a great impact on my life. I'm going to read this poem because it summarizes who Nelson Mandela was. This poem is entitled A Tribute to Nelson Mandela, and it goes like this. Mandela, oh Mandela, you have been a shining star. You have given us hope. You have given us love. You have given us the will to survive. Your dreams became our dreams. Revenge, revenge, revenge was the call of the masses. Forgive, forgive, forgive was your daily mantra. For 27 years, you were tormented. You were deprived. While the world was in darkness, your light continued to glow. Revenge, revenge, revenge was the call of the masses. Forgive, forgive, forgive was your daily mantra. Oh Mandela, the king of all kings, you are now free forever, free to unite with your ancestors, free to plan a new destiny. Yes, that was the poem that I composed while sitting in deep shock when I heard of his, passing away. Because like I'm saying in a poem, everybody called for revenge. The young people that belonged to the ANC, the political party that he belonged to, wanted revenge. But he said that no, we cannot go on a path of revenge. We need to find ways of bringing people together. What would you do if you were imprisoned for 27 years? Would you be able to forgive your captors, or would you want revenge? Nelson Mandela chose forgiveness, and he never stopped trying to build a better world. His impact echoes through all cultures, races, and creeds, with the message that everyone has the right to be treated equally. In the light, Nelson Mandela spent 20 years directing a campaign of non-violent, peaceful resistance. He believed that, and I quote, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. It was no wonder that when he was released from prison, like you rightfully pointed out, Mrs. Graham, he made arrangements to have tea with the former wife of the apartheid leader, P.W. Botha. This was a sign of forgiveness. Imagine P.W. Botha, who was instrumental in keeping Nelson Mandela in prison. The first thing he did was to go have tea with his wife. On his appointment as the first president of the Democratic South Africa, he included in his new cabinet members of other political parties. His deputies, he had 2 deputy presidents, and both those deputies were leaders of other political parties. The leader of the Inkatha Freedom Party, Mr. Mangosuthu Buthelezi, was one of the deputies, and the former president of apartheid South Africa, the South Africa that put him in prison, he made as the next deputy president, Mr. F.W. de Klerk. Now, this is the type of person that we are talking about.
What an amazing example. And what a great point that once you sit down and have tea or have something to eat with someone that you don't know and you disagree with, human differences can be put aside. It's hard to imagine a better example than Mandela in terms of inviting different voices to speak, even voices that had oppressed him personally.
Yes.
That's really
Correct.
impressive.
Yeah, and there was a peace summit on 24th of September in South Africa. 24th of September is called Heritage Day, and during a Nelson Mandela Peace Summit on Heritage Day in 2018, world leaders were called to uphold the principles Mandela stood for: courage, humility, and tolerance. They were called to promote peace and stability across the globe. Speakers stressed at that summit that Mr. Mandela's teachings are the foundation for global peace initiatives. The summit opened on 24th of September when world leaders unanimously adopted a political declaration through which they saluted Mr. Mandela for his forgiveness and compassion, acknowledging as well as his contribution to the struggle for democracy. Mr. Mandela, in his journey from prisoner to world leader, shaped the struggle for democracy and human rights far beyond South Africa. And he left a legacy that transcends age, race, and gender. One of the representatives at that peace summit said, Mr. Mandela was a globally renowned human rights advocate and a selfless leader who believed in freedom for all. Another representative said that Mr. Mandela embodied the highest ideals of humanity, and his journey from prisoner to president is emblematic of his larger-than-life story. Mr. Mandela represented the highest values of the United Nations and showed what was truly possible when rule of law triumphs over prejudice. A representative of your country said, Mr. Mandela transformed South Africa into a better version of itself, and that his legacy transcends boundaries and will continue to influence the fight for justice and equality around the world. Despite decades of imprisonment, Mr. Mandela never lost faith in humanity, including that of his oppressors. He was testament to the fact that peace and growth are possible anywhere in the world. Several speakers at that summit said Mr. Mandela's legacy building efforts across the world and asserted that his fight for the most oppressed people on earth remains as relevant as ever. Mr. Mandela was gracious and humble in victory as he pursued reconciliation, and he taught the world that peace is possible when states engage in effective dialogue. That's what Mandela stood for.
It's hard to imagine a situation more divided than South Africa under apartheid. And it's even more a tribute to him that he was able to come and govern and bring different parties, different viewpoints together in South Africa, but he also worked throughout Africa as a continent to bring peace. Could you say a little bit about his peace building efforts in other countries in Africa?
Yes. 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 Throughout the continent of Africa, throughout the world, everybody has utilized the teachings of Mandela in their daily activities. I think one of the things that I would like to emphasize at this point, there's a concept in South Africa which is called Ubuntu, Ubuntu. In 2006, Nelson Mandela gives us his explanation of the African spiritual ethic Ubuntu in an interview with a South African journalist. He used this as an example. A traveler through a country would stop at a village and he didn't have to ask for food or for water. Once he stops, the people give him food, entertain him. That is one aspect of Ubuntu in Africa, where people will not ask questions. If you pass somebody's house and you stop for help, the first thing they will offer you is water or food. That's the spirit of Ubuntu. Now, the word Ubuntu comes from the Xhosa Zulu culture, the community into which Nelson Mandela was born, Xhosa culture. And it has been summarized in the phrase, Umuntu, Gumuntu, Gabuntu, in the Nguni language of Xhosa, Zulu, and Ndebele. The concept of this phrase can be translated to mean a person is a person through other persons. In other words, I am me because of you. I cannot exist if you did not exist. My existence will be in vain if you are not there. That is what the concept of Ubuntu means. Mandela touches upon the multifaceted of Ubuntu, as well as the way one feels fellow men in any continent, in any country. People should enrich themselves, meaning grow in their own Ubuntu, but through and towards the spiritual growth of one's community. Mandela found that the power of Ubuntu, the inner core of every person's humanity, could move mountains. When the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, made a speech in 2018 at a Nelson Mandela annual lecture in Johannesburg, he said that Mandela understood the ties that bind the human spirit. There is a word in South Africa, Barack Obama said, and he mentioned Ubuntu, that describes his greatest gift is recognition that we are all bound together in ways that can be invisible to the eye, that there is a oneness to humanity, that we achieve ourselves by sharing ourselves with others and caring for those around us, Obama said. Mandela is the true definition of Ubuntu, as he used this concept to lead South Africa to a peaceful post-apartheid transition, an example that other countries in Africa and other countries in the world should emulate, because only through peaceful means we can accept to become human again. He never had the intention of teaching our oppressors a lesson. No, Mandela did not want to teach the oppressors a lesson. Instead, he operated with compassion and integrity, showing us that for us to be a better South Africa or a better Africa or a better world, we cannot act out of vengeance or retaliation, but we can only do so with peace. So his influence in other parts of the world is insurmountable. Up till today, different parts of the world, they've either named a building or they've named a street or they've named a village after Nelson Mandela, because his spirit stays in those countries. His spirit of Ubuntu, where I am me because of you, stays everywhere throughout the world.
Well, I also like the idea that not only am I me because you exist, but I thrive more when you thrive. I can have good quality of life fully only if you have good quality of life. We're all in the same boat and we have to pull together.
Yes, and that's what Mandela advocated throughout his, and that is why when he created his parliament in a new democratic dispensation, he utilized the expertise and the professionalism of all members that could contribute to South Africa's development, irrespective of which political party they belong to. That is how he sacrificed parliamentary seats by giving, his own party members were not very happy that he was able to make people from other political parties, make them cabinet ministers, make them deputy presidents. But Mandela galvanized the South African community by doing that. And during that period when he was the president, everybody was using that spirit of Ubuntu so much of this political leadership.
Get upset when they feel like they're not heard or not included in decision making. So I think that inclusiveness in
Yes.
this government is extremely important.
Because you must remember, there are radical elements. In politics is such that you will get some radical elements in a political party that will want to advocate a certain ideology. However, Mandela was not willing to succumb to that. He was saying that in order for us to build a new South Africa post-apartheid, we need to make sure that everybody is part of the decision-making process.
Could you also say something about Mandela's Children's Fund? Clearly, the children are the future of our world. And I know that was a big part of Mandela's work.
Yes, he believed that the children are the most important asset in any country. Mandela was not only an advocate of equal rights in South Africa, he was also a champion of children's rights worldwide. His vision for ensuring access to quality education for all children is especially important now when gender disparity, poverty, and armed conflict are keeping 263 million children out of school, according to a UNESCO report. Mandela's passion for both education and children grew in part from his own personal experiences and his struggle with inequality in South Africa. He was one of the few non-white Africans to earn a bachelor's degree during his time as an undergraduate. At the universities, he was the only Black commitment to education and to children only deepened with his activism. After being imprisoned for his opposition to apartheid in 1962, Mandela reflected that the nearly 30 years he spent in jail without being able to see his own children was one of the most severe punishments prison life can impose, because children are the most important asset in a country. He also believed that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. In 1999, as he stepped down from South Africa's presidency, Mandela established the Nelson Mandela Foundation to promote freedom and equality for all. In 2004, his foundation launched a partnership with UNICEF called the School for Africa campaign, inspired by Mandela's understanding that education is the seeds were planted by Nelson Mandela. Rural development, with the support of the Schools for Africa initiative and UNICEF, allows children in Africa to have access to a quality education. Students at a child-friendly school that is part of a project launched by the Nelson Mandela Institute for Education and Rural Development, with support of the Schools for Africa initiative and UNICEF, have made sure that every child, whether in the urban area or in the rural area, must have access to quality education. Because if you develop the children's education potential, you are developing future leaders. And that is why his campaign was very, very much accepted right through the world. And remember, and this is an important contribution, among many other awards and prizes received since his release from prison and leadership of a democratic South Africa, in the year 2005, Mandela received the World's Children's Prize. And in 2009, he was named the Decade Child's Rights Hero 2009 for his lifelong struggle to free the children of South Africa from apartheid and for his unwavering support for their rights. The latter was a joint award with Gracia Marshall, his third and current wife. And that is why I would end this particular discourse by saying, our children are the rock on which our future. They will be the leaders of our country, the creators of our national wealth, who care for and protect our people. That is what Mandela believed in.
Thank you so much for giving us all that information about Nelson Mandela. To summarize, I'm so glad that we were able to get your comments about Nelson Mandela in his own country of South Africa, and his focus not on revenge, but on peace building. That's an essential part of nation building, when we can all work together.
Correct.
And I appreciate your calling to our attention the word Ubuntu, that we're all in this together, that I am me because you can be you. I can thrive because you thrive. I can't really get ahead unless you have a decent standard of living. You also
But Mandela also believed, carry on.
You also emphasized children. And I think that's really important. That was an excellent point to end on, that his vision of children as the future of the world, the future leaders, the future problem solvers, the future peace builders is something that we can all look to Nelson Mandela as an example. And I want to thank you so much for your time and for your own dedication to peace building.
No, it was an absolute delight being part of this dialogue on peace builders throughout the world. I know you had a dialogue on Gandhi, and now you have one on Mandela. Yes, all these people have contributed immensely towards emphasizing to us that in order for us to be human again, we need to talk to people. We need to understand people. We need to accept them. We need to embrace them. And by doing that, we need to leave a legacy, because when we leave this earth and we go to our ancestral thing, but only a good name. And that is why it's very, very important for us to work together collectively, and like institutes like the Dialogue Institute of Austin and other similar institutes throughout the world, because the more we have dialogue, the more better place we will be creating for our children.
I'm just thrilled that Zoom allows me to talk with you when you're in South Africa and I'm in the USA. This has been a wonderful forum, a wonderful platform. And again, I just want to say thank you. I do look at you as my new friend.
Thank you so much to you. No, definitely. We will definitely interact more often, and especially with the Dialogue Institute of Austin as well. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you for putting together this very, very interesting program.
Okay, thanks everybody. We're signing off now.
During this very dark period in human history, because it gives